Oh, it says that we're live. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a semifinals match of the Zelda 2 Randomizer tournament featuring Nirm and Jam Evil. I am Joshy D, and with me is the Countess. Say hello.
Hello.
We are really excited to be here on Speed Gaming 2, the Deuce for...
Actually, it looks like we're on the main Speed Gaming.
Are we on the main Speed Gaming channel? Oh, what a glorious day.
Yeah.
Zelda 2 Randomizer is all grown up.
Well, I mean, the next two races were going to be on the main channel too, but now this one is too.
Cool. So if people are not familiar with Zelda 2 Randomizer, it is a bit of software developed by DigShake, who is also in the Final Four of this tournament, which takes all of the items and locations and palaces and enemies of Zelda 2, the game that we all know and love from our childhood, and shuffles them around to provide a brand new adventure every time. We are playing on some seriously difficult flags since we are in the Final Four, which includes things like variable health refill when you cast the life spell, mixed large and small enemies. Palaces are able to appear on either continent. So, ordinarily in the game on West Continent, you would only get palaces 1, 2, and 3. Now they can be anywhere, and a whole lot of other stuff that we'll be talking about as we proceed through this match. And of course, please ignore the Diddy Kong racing border on
No, that's only on what we're seeing.
That's what we're on. Okay, so the people can see the tracker.
Yeah, they see the proper tracker and all that.
There we go. So we're waiting for these guys to level up. Now, it says Nirm versus Jam 2. Did they face earlier on in the tournament? Because I believe that this is the first of their 2 out of 3 match here in the bracket phase of the tournament.
I think they actually may have. Let me look at the...
Yeah, let's check the scoreboard on that one.
Yeah, round 3 of the Swiss, it looks like they matched up and Nirm won.
Okay. So what this tournament had was it had 4 rounds of Swiss play where people were matched up based on their score. And then everyone who had 3 or more wins in the Swiss phase was automatically seeded into a single elimination bracket of 16, which is what we're working through right now. The remainder of the spots were filled with players who had 2 wins, and there was a play-in race with, I believe, 12 players all competing for spots. And here we go. We have both of our racers going left out of the palace. As you can see, this is not the overworld that we're accustomed to from original vanilla Zelda 2. They don't have the candle with these flags, so you can see they went into that cave and were not able to see anything, although they could see the layout of the cave generally, which gave them the ability to determine that that was the back end of Fairy Cave, and they did not need to be going in there at the moment.
Yeah, all you can see of most enemies is just like the shadows of their feet, like 1 pixel on the ground where they overlap the background.
Jam just going into a palace. We know that is palace 3 or 6 based on the shape of the pillars. You can see that it's been randomized which encounters you get when you get a random encounter on the overworld. Here in the grass, it looked like it was a safe encounter, which would be a path encounter. Jam has gone into a dark cave, which we know is Heart Cave. This is the cave that originally had a heart container in vanilla. So what people are going to be doing is they're going to be going through the overworld and trying to find as many items as possible. There is 7 items that are located in the grass tile and various caves on the western part of Hyrule. Jam picking up the hammer, which will give him access to a cave that we saw at the beginning when they started at North Castle. The hammer being used to break blocks that can block between 0 and 2 caves. If a cave is blocked, it's guaranteed to have an item. Jam is using that right now to go into Medicine Cave. This is where ordinarily you'd be finding the water of life. And battling through this encounter can be really rough in the dark because there's a lot of enemies and flying enemies coming at you from all over the screen. Nothing too difficult though, and we'll see how this next room goes. Nirm picking up the hammer as well. He did up A there, which is a trick you can do to restart the game at North Castle. Basically, forces a game over by pausing and hitting up and A on the second controller. He wanted to get to that boulder-blocked cave, which is actually faster than walking out of the cave that he was in right there. This is a cave that would ordinarily have a P bag in vanilla Zelda 2, and we'll have an item for him. And Jam is picking up the raft. Countess, do you want to talk about the items that are very important for us to be finding here? I believe we lost the Countess, or they can't hear me. So we saw one of our players picking up the raft, which is a vital item to find at the beginning of the game, because it's going to be what gives us access to the eastern continent of Hyrule. Ooh, Niram is in a very rough encounter right now with an orange Daira with a low overhang, so there's not a lot of room to jump and be able to set up your attacks very effectively. But managing to...
Okay, I unplugged my mic on accident, but...
Okay, that's all right. Good to have you back, Countess. So
yeah, when Niram up-A'd, did he not see the cave that Jam went into that was boulder blocked as well?
No, he had not had a chance to see that, but it's all for the good, because he found the Jam has the hammer and the raft. The raft was what was that the one that was in the more southern part, or was that the one that was near the start? I think the one that was near start was the trophy.
Yeah. So Niram doesn't have the raft because he up-A'd before even seeing that cave.
Okay, so we are in the town of Saria. This is a town that you can get a spell for free in, basically just by walking into the town. The spell is always available. There's 4 towns, on the west continent. Each of them have a sage and a basement. 2 of the towns you'll be able to just walk in and get the spell right away, and the other 2 you will have to find either the Water of Life or the trophy to be able to appease the woman that is blocking the door. Countess, which spell did we get right there?
It was fire, which is not that helpful in this, especially now on this round. Like, fire isn't linked to another spell, so all it really does for you is make your sword shoot fire. It's very expensive early on.
Yeah, the
cost 74 at Magic 1.
Yeah, so each of the boxes of magic up at the top of the screen that you can see, each of those is worth 16 magic points. So one of our players, Niram, has 5 containers. That means he has 80 magic points available to him to cast spells. As you level up your magic level, it will reduce the cost of spells.
There's a good spell. Oh, well, they got fairy, but it cost 118.
Well, they're not going to be casting that soon. But if you have fairy spell...
Magic 2, it's 59, okay. So Niram can cast it, and Niram will be able to cast it once he levels up Magic to 2, which I'm sure he'll do since he has fairy.
Yeah, once you have fairy, that makes leveling up your magic a priority. The spells can cost up or down 50% from the vanilla cost at that particular magic level that you took. And each time you take a magic level, it's going to re-roll that. It'll be the same for each player. That's one of the questions we get asked a lot. These players are playing the same seed, which has the same randomization, so they should all be encountering the exact same thing.
Yep.
Looks like we've spotted the grass tile on Jam's on both sides, and that has the cross. The cross is a very important item, I feel. It makes the invisible Moas visible once you get over to the east continent. Those things can actually do a ton of damage, and they can drain your experience in the original game. The ability to drain experience from a player is shuffled amongst the enemies. A wonderful feature implemented by Digshake.
Do you know if you have the cross but not the candle, can you still see the Moas?
No, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still invisible, but you can see the shadows of them.
See Great Palace there on Jam's side.
Yeah, Great Palace on the west isn't very useful to our players. Really, our players are not going to be tempted to dive into palaces at all right away. A lot of that is because they kind of want to see if they can find the items that are required to attain spells in some place other than a palace, because finding an item inside a palace is about the slowest thing that you can do. So they kind of want to determine how their exploration in the palaces is going to go. If they know that they don't need to find any absolutely required items in a palace, then they're just going to avoid looking for items altogether.
Yeah. Which they do have the fairy spell, so some palaces will be an option already. Like, they could do Palace 1 if they found that, since the fairy spell lets you go through locked doors without needing a key. But
yeah,
in this seed, like, these flags, there aren't the extra extra keys turned on, so without the fairy or magic key, you really don't want to go into the deeper palaces.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the other thing keeping players from going into palaces is needing a way to get through locked doors. There's two ways you can do it: having the magic key, or having the fairy spell, or just finding keys. But keys are pretty hard to come by, so the fairy spell will do it, although they only get one cast of fairy per life, so they'll be able to make some progress. As you said, Palace 1 is going to be an option because it's pretty small, and they'll likely be able to complete it without exhausting all of their lives from game overing.
Oh, there's a useless river devil.
Oh yeah, that's not a very useful river devil at all.
I have to send that off to the useless river devil Twitter.
Yeah, so the flute is definitely not going to be a required item in this seed. Very rare for it to be required. It's one of the kind of junky items that you hope that you don't find. What they're looking for is the glove. The glove would be, it's actually one of the required items to get through the game. When you get into the palaces, if you have the glove, you can stab blocks, certain blocks to break them. Blocks are generally impeding your progress in the palaces, in particular palaces 3 and 6. And 2 have areas that are blocked by blocks, and of course the Great Palace is just loaded with them. So they're not going to want to go into any of those palaces probably until they get the glove and downstab, actually, which I didn't see anyone get downstab.
Yeah, I don't think they did, even though they have the fairy spell.
So there must have just been an area that was not accessible over on the west continent to be able to get to Mido, which is a town that if you have the jump or fairy spell, you can meet a soldier in that town that will teach you the downstab technique.
Looks like Nirm ran into a long bridge that's actually blocking something.
Another rare thing in this game, to have bridges actually be required to go through to access other parts of the overworld.
I believe he's still on West Continent, probably looking for the other two towns, because they haven't found Mido and they haven't found Rauru.
Yeah, so
the first free spell.
Absolutely. Oh, so I guess something that we should talk about is, when you pick up a spell from Rauru, for instance, that is the first spell location as the game sees it. So it's going to list whatever spell you get from that town in the number 1 slot in your spell book. And is this one of the stages of the tournament where it's going to be required to get the magic containers? Or is that next phase?
I believe that's next phase only, which is finals.
So yeah, in the finals. So in the vanilla game, if you had a spell that you wanted to cast and it's in your 5th slot of your spell book, you would need 5 magic containers to be able to cast that. That option has been...
I believe it's actually to learn it, so you can't get it at all.
Oh, to learn it, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, you can't even learn it. So that's not going to be a concern right now, but it will be in the finals.
Here's Raru's spell. It is Shield. Which is probably not something that someone in like the semifinals wants to find, but it's not a bad spell, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone who really dislikes finding Shield. I think the high-level players don't think much of the life spell, but Shield, it halves the damage that you take, which really actually lets you kind of power through the game faster than you ordinarily would, because you can just take more damage and also have to collect less heart containers.
Yeah. Jam has actually done this twice now, where he's cast Fairy in first the desert encounter and then the swamp encounter, just only to find a pea bag there. And there's always a pea bag there, so I'm kind of wondering why he thought it would be an item.
Well, maybe he thought it was going to be a 1-up doll and could pick up a 1-up.
That could be.
I mean, that's the only thing, but that's I've never actually seen anyone do that.
Yeah, there's only like probably 1 or 2 1-ups per continent, so it's not a very high chance. Nirm is
Yeah.
already in Death Mountain. It's an interesting call.
Okay, so
guess-
let's talk about Death Mountain then.
I guess he's thinking it's blocking Mito because he doesn't have downstab still, but he's been to the other 3 towns. But it's interesting that he hasn't gone to the other continent before Death Mountain.
Well, he doesn't have the raft. He didn't find that other boulder blocked cave.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's a critical error. That up A that he did early in the seed might come to bite him. I mean, it's possible that Death Mountain is going to have a very important item, and that's going to be the last place in the world Jam's going to look for.
So I think what happened is when he was down in the south the first time, he got the hammer and then up A to go back to start, and then when he was in the southeast corner later on, where he got I forget what was in there. I think it was a heart container in the trophy cave. He up A'd again, whereas Jam left to get on the raft. But if Nirm had left and then gone to the west a little bit, I think he would have found that other the boulder block cave with the raft in it.
So Death Mountain is a large series of caves, maybe 30-something caves, possibly more. I don't know. It's just a ton of caves, and they're all interconnected. There's 2 entrances, so that's probably what Nirm is thinking, is that he has one entrance to Death Mountain, and the other one is going to pop him out in an otherwise inaccessible part of the continent. There's also the Hammer Shrine, which is a location where you can go through a cave and find an item, and then there's also a boulder, spectacle rock somewhere on this Death Mountain that will have an item underneath that, which he can get because he's got the hammer. And it actually looks like we're in the Hammer Shrine right now.
Yeah.
So if this turns out to be a required item like the glove, this could actually be a maybe technical mistake that turns out to pay huge dividends. So people usually don't like to go through these, go into Death Mountain because it can just take a really long time for exploration. There's no rhyme or reason to where the cave will pop you out when you go into one. And it's especially difficult to track it when you're in the dark. And let's see what this item is. Oh my god.
It is the glove.
It's the glove.
That's pretty much what Nirm needed that to be, for that to not be a huge time waste. So hopefully he can find the raft, but actually he can already start doing palaces right now if he wants. Though if he doesn't find the raft, he's going to keep looking in palaces for items.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I guess the only thing we haven't found that they need to complete the game is the Thunder spell. Barring like some rare item blocks.
Well, we don't have Reflect either, do we?
Oh, I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we don't have either.
items.
If the tracker is correct, and I believe that it is, we won't have either. Now, this is actually maybe troublesome because Nirm is going into Palace. Oh, it looks like this is 6. Okay, if this was 3, 3 definitely has a room that is downstab blocked, downstab and glove blocked. So you can sometimes be prevented from going very far in that palace. This one, I think, with just the glove, you should be okay. And oh my god, well, here's Barb.
Okay, attack 2 Barba. Let's go. I would not have gone in here, but let's see how this goes.
Well, I mean,
Take,
Nirm's
like,
going to
10
go in
minutes.
here and have no reason to go back in here ever again, probably.
True, but with attack 2, this fight's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple days to finish up. So, Barba isn't the most dangerous boss, especially if you don't have the jump spell, which would let you do the jackhammer, which is the riskiest thing you could do to fight Barba. So, with just general caution, this will take a long time, but not a huge risk of dying from damage.
Yeah.
Maybe in the meanwhile, we can talk about Jam over on East Continent. On East Continent, we've seen the water tile a couple of times. No one has the boots to be able to access that tile.
He
The
did hit
boots.
Maze Island, which I think had Palace 1 on it, though I don't think he completed the palace.
Oh, that's strange because, like, if you're on Maze Island and you find a beatable palace, it's usually good practice just to finish it while you're there because it can sometimes take a while to navigate the maze and to get to the palace itself. So anytime backtracking is considered a waste.
Yeah.
The boots in Randomizer got an upgrade from the vanilla game, and they allow you to walk on any water tile that's within the bounds of the map. So it can be very useful for kind of circumventing difficult parts of a continent, and sometimes required to access certain areas. But
It's
we have
taking
not.
about 8 sword strikes to take 1 pip off of Barba's bar.
Oh, and we actually are in danger of dying by damage, which, I mean, that would be a shame now that we're 3 minutes into this fight.
I think he would probably up A and just come back with more attack levels.
Yeah, I mean, that would be I mean, this is okay to do once, I think. I mean, it's questionable to do once, but it's definitely, I think, the wrong call to do it twice.
Yeah.
I'd have a hard time turning around if I found Barba and not at least giving it a go.
I believe Jam Evil found the flute in that P-bag cave, so that's not very useful.
Mm-hmm. And we found Palace 3 over wherever Jam is right now on the east. Ooh, and dark lava encounters in the swamp, in a huge swamp. So, yeah, lava encounters are about the worst thing that you can find, and especially in the dark. And when you're in such a huge swamp where you can't do encounter dodges because your speed is so slow, a really nasty combo. Jam making a valiant effort, but this is probably going to be the death of Jam. Not to discount Jam's abilities, but it's just a rough go.
I generally say that I don't mind not having the candle, but lava encounters are a definite exception to that. I don't care for them at all. So I don't want to get knocked into the lava by something I can't even see.
Yeah. If I could pick up 2 candles, I would pick up 2 candles, honestly. Oh, okay, well, we got Barba down.
1000 XP.
Yeah, we're going to get 2 attack levels out of this.
Yeah. Well, no, because magic was in the way, so he's got to take life and...
Oh, okay. I don't know if you saw, but in those dark lava encounters, the spiders from the ceiling were also invincible to sword strikes.
Oh, nice.
Just the icing on the cake. I mean, we're laughing, but like we've all been through horrible things like that. So when you see someone just having a rough go, it's it's kind of okay to laugh.
So chat timed that Barba fight as over 3 minutes long. That's shorter than I thought.
That's a lot shorter than I thought.
Okay, now why is Nirm going in for the item in 6? That's sketchy.
You know, I think this all comes down to Nirm not finding that boulder when Nirm had the chance. Because there's so many free items available on the east. Like, you would definitely choose to go over there rather than looking for items in a palace on the west. When you go east, there's the desert tile, the water tile, 2 P-bag caves, and 2 items on Maze Island that you can just pick up. Well, I guess the water tile you need boots, but like any of those is a cheaper and easier way to find an item than digging through a palace. Plus, there's so many P-bags over there, usually worth 500 points, that you can just take a couple levels and just get ahead in the game.
Magic container for Jam.
Which is great. I mean, we like magic containers. Jam's levels are fairly low. Did you see attack 2? Yeah, 222. That's pretty low levels, especially for having already spent so much time over on the east. I wonder if Jam didn't care or just didn't find very many P-bags lying around.
Well, he did find those 2 that he tried to get with the fairy spell, which is unfortunate. But those were tags he couldn't have gotten without the jump spell anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he should have been able to found a couple others.
Yeah. Nirm finds the item room in 6 pretty quickly, actually. He's got to fight Rebanak without downstab, but he can probably do it with his levels.
Wow, getting 2 hits on the pass right there. So it looks like Nirm is definitely familiar with no downstab strats.
Yeah, and it looks like Life 4 is pretty strong, actually. He's not taking too much damage from this. Oh, he's getting a lot of hits. Now he's just dying, it looks like, to refill his health.
So, did I see that did Jam take a cave to be able to find Mito here?
I wasn't looking, but he must have, or Nirm would have found it by now, because Nirm has been on this continent the entire time.
Yeah, I saw him go into a cave. I saw him go into Fairy Cave, but I didn't see if he actually stayed in there or went into another cave. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't have the boots, so there's really no other way to have gotten through. So, I mean, Niram has one really important item, but Jam is kind of leading with almost every other a way to judge someone's progress.
Yeah.
Except no levels and no gems either. Just a lot of exploration, but rather fruitless.
Let's see. So I guess what Niram would want to find in here is a spell item. Either the kid or the medicine.
Mm-hmm. But we got that all-important downstab. Maybe you could describe like some of the really great uses of downstab.
Yeah, downstab's great because, like, first of all, like we said earlier, there's some blocks, like in Palace 3, that you need it for to continue through the room. But it's also great for combat because you can either just use it to jump on something's head that you don't want to fight and jump past it, or you can even use it for, like, if you get an iron knuckle under a low ceiling, what you can do is jump into it and hold the down stab and then start mashing it after it takes damage the first time and just kill it really easily that way. And there are a couple other like combat techniques that are just make a lot of encounters a lot safer with the down stab, whether because you want to fight them or because you don't want to fight them.
I mean, I think one of the best uses of downstab is not killing stuff and just being able to.
See that bridge on Jam's side right there? I think you could go out of bounds with that bridge. Because it was sitting on the edge of the map, but you could approach it from the north, so if you went all the way through it, it would put you past it one step south, and you'd be stuck there, you'd have to turn around.
So we have Niram going through Fairy Cave. I think I've been calling Jump Cave Fairy Cave this whole time, but I'm sure I've been corrected a number of times in the chat by people who were smarter than me. And yeah, going through this bridge near Miz.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm what Jam's looking for. I guess the glove.
Yeah. I mean, Jam's looking for the glove at this point. Is eventually gonna come to the conclusion that it's probably on Death Mountain.
Yeah.
But also might start going into palaces to look for stuff. Yeah, so this is the jump cave that I've been calling Fairy Cave. It's very near the start of the game. Niram needs to get down to the south and find that boulder blocked cave and get that raft.
And the thing about doing gloveless palaces is that most of the palaces only have 1 or 2 rooms that are blocked by the glove, so there's really not like a certain chance that you're going to need the glove. So if you really don't want to go into Death Mountain, then you do have the option of going into palaces.
Yeah, sometimes you can, just the blockage won't be blocking anything important, or you'll find another way around just because of the way that the
Palace 4 have loops in them, and drops, so you could get past the blocked room that way.
But it's it's one of the things that like you would maybe just choose to not do it, because if you do go into a palace and get pretty deep and it's blocked, like that's a lot of wasted time that you're just going to have to backtrack later. So there's risks you have to take in this game. There's risks because you don't know where things are, and you need to do what you can do quickly and then start picking like, well, what's the least damaging to my time thing I could do right now with the highest probability of finding an item, because you won't know what the item's going to be anyway. And without perfect hindsight, you don't really know if it's a good choice or a bad choice. You just got to start making choices. Sometimes you do what Niram did and you go into Death Mountain and pretty quickly find a really key item that your opponent's not going to find for a very long time.
Yeah, though unfortunately he's back in there looking for Spectacle Rock now.
Oh dear. The rock you're looking for is on the Overworld, buddy.
Yeah.
And it's not a criticism, because like anyone who's played a Randomizer has missed one small corner of the Overworld with something important for an hour.
And like I said earlier, he was in that corner twice, but he just hit one side and then he hit the other side of the cave and didn't go to both sides.
Oh, that's so rough.
And someone was asking in chat about the palaces, whether they turn to stone after you complete them. That Randomizer actually turns that off so that you can still revisit the palace if you want.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Like sometimes there's juicy enemies in there that you could go into and grind on.
Yeah.
Probably not in a race, you wouldn't do that, but other times, I mean, I don't know like what the real good use of that would be if you've completely cleared it out. But it's fun that you can go back in if you wanted to. It might also just, well, I guess you can see a block just as easy as you could see an open palace. So I'm not sure it would help with navigating. Oh, he does find Spectacle Rock. So his time in Death Mountain hasn't been a huge sink of time. Like as far as Death Mountains can go, like those were some pretty brief trips.
Yeah. I wasn't paying attention, but was the glove like immediately accessible, or did he have to go through a pass-through cave to find it?
I know that he went through some caves. I don't know if he absolutely had to.
Okay. So either it's not accessible, or it might have been accessible from the entrance he didn't come from.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as long as it's not like immediately available, then Jam may have more trouble finding it than he did.
Yeah. So this would be a much different looking race if Nirm had found the glove and had found the raft at the same time. We would probably have seen Nirm explode into the lead and have a few palaces under his belt by now. But kind of all the time that gambit, which actually wasn't really, it was just what he thought he had to do. But that circumstance, the time that it would have bought him in a lead is getting eaten up by not getting off of the west.
That link that Sports FA has just posted is will explain all the flags that the randomizer has, but there's dozens of things that you can turn on and off in this. And most of them are on for this round of the tournament. As the bracket stage progresses, like it gets increasingly more difficult from the flag set. Looks like Jam's back on the east.
Yeah, so I mean, basically everything is able to be randomized, from the the hit points that enemies have, to how much health they have, to how much experience they drop, to whether or not items are shuffled between Overworld and Palace items. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can create a gaming experience that suits you. And I encourage everyone to try it out. It's a wonderful bit of software that helps keep a game that we love so dearly fresh every time. If we have a moment, since we have Nirm here in Palace 4, which we know because it has the Moa flying in front, the boss of this palace is called Karok, which you need the Reflect spell to beat. That is not something Nirm's going to be able to do. But we see him taking right turns, because in palaces, the boss is always to the right, but in palaces 3, 6, and 4, the item is also located to the right. So it's something that people will kind of make a decision on when they're deciding to go into a palace looking for an item, whether or not the item is found by the same path of exploration as the boss would be. In this case, he's not looking for the boss either, but it's just something to keep in mind when we see people going into palaces.
Yeah, because as the palaces go on, they get a little longer, but also a couple of the later palaces have the item in the same direction as the boss. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to take the left turns to find those things.
Yeah, Palace 1 is... we are in an item room. And he's taking damage to be able to die to get his magic refilled, so he can use fairy to be able to fairy through the locked door. And you can pick up...
avoid an encounter there, but the path tiles aren't always safe in this flag set, so he actually got to fight anyway.
Jam finding a pea bag cave. This is a cave that has a pea bag in the vanilla version of the game. It now can contain an item, a large item as we call it, one of the critical items to beating the game.
Did he go through the other one? No, he went through one of them over here. Nope, it's the medicine, so he did not. Okay, I'm wrong. Also, Nirm just found a magic container in Palace 4. Definitely not what he wanted to see.
No, no, no. But we see overworld exploration now. So Nirm is going to fine-tooth comb search this whole continent until he finds what he's looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, he must know. Oh, you know what? I
It's
think.
right
Oh,
there.
there it is. There it is. Go get it.
Now he's gonna feel real bad about this because he knows that he's been in this area twice.
Yeah, he's gonna think that he's playing way from behind.
Yeah. She's really not doing that bad because Jam's spending quite a bit of time looking for the glove now. And if he's gonna spend more time on the east continent, he's not gonna find it. So I guess we'll see if Jam starts diving into palaces looking for the glove.
What when you go into a palace, like you could find your way to the boss and complete an objective that you need to complete anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that it tends to be thought of as a better use of time because you're in a place that you need to be already. It does take a long time sometimes to find an item in a palace, but you at least have some purpose to go there. You may never actually need to go to Death Mountain, which is kind of why it's saved until last in the usual meta. But I mean, speaking of meta, we're going to be seeing the kind of mental aspect of the game with Nirm having missed that raft until about 33 minutes into the game. We might be looking at Nirm's decisions through that lens of, is this a player playing like they feel like they've lost time and need to catch up rapidly?
Yeah. Now I'm kind of curious where he's going because he's going all to the left.
Yeah,
Not jumping on the raft tile.
I would be going to the raft, but I mean, I'm out of the tournament at this point, so I can't really, make judgments or criticisms of someone else's play. But
yeah, I went 1 and 3, so I don't know why they let us do this.
But wait a minute, the tracker doesn't say that we have the raft. Did he? No, I saw Nirm pick up the raft.
Now he has to have picked it up, yeah.
I mean, yeah, unless there was some accidental game over at the last second, but I believe I saw him pick it up and
he walked out of there, so he definitely got it. Unless he just saw it and he didn't want it. I don't know. Hey, you'll like what Jam just picked up. He's got himself the candle.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm one of the most vocal proponents of the... Oh, okay, so he's going to get downstab.
It's a little late to find the candle, but with lava encounters being in the swamp, I would want it.
And that's a humongous swamp to be dealing with terrible encounters in.
Yeah, if there's anything at all in that swamp, I want the candle.
Oh, is he going to get magic first? Okay, so that's good. I wouldn't want to go to the East Continent without downstab. As we said earlier, one of the best uses of the downstab technique is to avoid fights, and especially on the East where the enemies just have a whole lot of HP, being able to pogo over enemies and just avoid fighting anything is a valuable use. And we have one of the required spells to beat the game right now.
Yep.
Out of the town of New Kasuto, Jam has found the Thunder spell, which will be used to make the penultimate boss of the game, Thunderbird, vulnerable to sword strikes. This is actually a really interesting town in that it has a free spell. You walk in can get a free spell. There's an elderly person who, if you have a certain number of magic containers, which can be anywhere from 5 to 7, they will give you access to an item in their basement. And then there's also, at the end of the town, a shrine that appears if you use the spell, which will give you yet another item. So there's potentially 2 items in the spell coming out of... there's always those things, but whether or not you'll be able to get them is in question.
So the 3 spells we need, or are missing still, are Reflect, Jump, and Spell. And I'm not really 100% on which towns we're missing. I know we saw Old Katsudo, so I think it's... I think Naburu might still be missing, or did we get that one?
I didn't see anyone go into Naburu yet. I also didn't see whether Jam cashed in the medicine.
Yeah, I don't think he did. So there's that one, and I know Darunia, nobody's found the kid yet.
Mm-hmm.
So probably Naburu and those 2 spell items. So I guess Nirm is going to be hoping that the kid is going to be required and that he finds it quickly. Jam
Well,
is
I mean,
just
Jam's in
found
Nabooru right now,
Yeah.
giving the lady some water.
But we did see in the play-in race for the bracket stage that a lot of people were thrown off by the glove being hidden in Death Mountain just like this, and it wasn't easy to get to. So if Jam puts off the Death Mountain till the very last thing, then he could lose a lot of time looking for it in palaces. But if Nirm finds the 2 spells that he needs, then he won't have to look for any items in palaces. He can just go straight for the bosses in all 6 of them. Or
Yeah,
5.
absolutely.
He's already got Barba.
I mean, and that's the dream. You know, that's really what you want. Is you want to be able to go into palaces and make a beeline for the boss and
Yeah.
just not go hunting for anything.
Jam's found the other P-Bag Cave. So yes, I was completely wrong about him finding a P-Bag Cave already.
Well, the caves are dark, man. It's not always easy to tell.
The walls are the same. Maybe you went through a pass-through that looked like the room before this. That's very possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I believe there are 2 pass-through caves that share the same first room as this. Just if you enter it from the left, you know you're in this cave.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I think he found a heart container. So not the glove he wanted. I think he's running out of places to look. I know he's been to Maze Island. And I think a second ago I saw him find the desert tile with a 500-point P-Bag on it. So, unless there's something in the West Continent he missed, which I don't think so, he's probably got to do either Death Mountain or Palaces at this point.
So we see our players keeping their... Well, I guess Jam's got Magic 4, Life 4. Something that players will do is keep their Magic and Life levels at 3. We usually Magic at 3 and then Life at 4. To be able to maximize the bonus that you get off of the Palace Gems at the end of a Palace. And if you do that, that means that you can also avoid fighting just about anything in the game and just getting a pretty minimal amount of experience that you need to be able to exceed the threshold of Magic 3, Life 4, and boost your attack levels really high, and then use like maybe your last 2 Palace Gems to cash in all that experience for some Magic and attack levels. It's something that's nice in a race that you just get to a point after you've gotten your initial levels that you just stop fighting stuff. Like anything that's not in your way, you'll just completely avoid it and make a beeline to the boss.
Looks like even at Magic 4, Nirm can only cast Fairy once per life.
Now that could be a good reason why our players would have, even if they weren't normally the type of person who would, go to Magic 4. If you didn't have the Magic Key and you were trying to get an extra Fairy cast so that you could minimize your intentional deaths, it's a risk that doesn't pay off a ton of the time. Oftentimes, like you take Magic 4 and like you still can't cast Fairy, and then you've just messed up your leveling. But oh dear God, look at this screen that Jam is in with just every high level enemy all at once. A very well timed Life 4 to be able to survive that. 2 Iron Knuckles, these bullet spitting dog heads. It looked like there was a blue Iron Knuckle in the mix as well. Just every awful thing.
Jam finds the glove block room for Palace 3. I
Oh,
believe that's the only one, or is there one of the lava rooms in here too?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. So he would like to see those rooms while moving to the left, and hopefully they're not blocking off an elevator. But
Yeah, you want them blocking off dead ends.
yeah.
Oh man, King Doll would
not
be happy.
expect that Char to be there. I think he turned around and left.
Yeah. So that was a great chart. Did you see what the Palace 1 item was?
No, I didn't see it. I know Jam has it too.
Okay.
Oh, they're saying it's boots. Okay. I guess Jim didn't get it then. Maybe he went in and just saw some locked doors and left. Because I know he wasn't in this palace very long.
Oh dear, this. Oh, there's a Doom Knocker as well. Oh
Fun.
God, this is. This is why you want to play Randomizer, kids.
Yeah.
You get to go through rooms like this. I think you're right though about the life levels being particularly strong, because that Doom Knocker hammer would ordinarily just ice anybody at life 4, and it
Yeah.
didn't look like it did a whole lot of damage at all. So that is a thing at this with these flag sets. Unless I'm greatly mistaken, the effectiveness of the life spell, and I think the effectiveness of the levels themselves is randomized. Can we confirm that?
Yeah, attack, magic, and life are all randomized at this point. So magic, obviously, the spells all have different costs from vanilla, and then attack and life their effectivity is multiplied by some scalar. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I assume plus or minus 50% like everything else. Yirm takes down Horsehead, so he's actually got the palace lead, the gym lead, but he's a bit behind on exploration. He hasn't done much at all on the East Continent. We still haven't found Reflect, so that's going to be behind either the medicine or the kid. I don't remember where he found the medicine.
I think the medicine was in one of those bag caves. Thought he'd
Okay.
like maybe the one with like the stepped pattern when you first walk into it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yirm's gonna check out Maze Island.
Yeah, it looks like this is a maze island where the boots aren't going to speed things up incredibly.
Yeah,
Usually,
not at all.
usually the way that the river runs through Maze Island, if you have the boots, you can just make quicker exploration of Maze Island. There's a bunch of invisible encounters on it, and 2 of the invisible encounters are pits that have items in it. The others are fights that you have to go through that are like a couple screens wide.
There are 7 pass-through encounters and then 2 that have items.
Is that what it is? Okay. Wow,
Yeah.
you got the numbers. So if there's like a river that lets you just get around those encounters and you have the boots, that's really great. But since that river is so far up on the top, it looks like you're just going to have to walk over the whole dang maze anyway to find the items. But it wasn't too bad. The good old flute. So the flute, if the River Devil was something that we cared about in this seed, if it was blocking an important road, the flute would make the River Devil move. In the vanilla game, the flute makes Palace 6 visible, but that's not something that's in play in the randomizer.
Yeah, I know Dig Shake's thinking about adding that to the next version of it, whenever that comes out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, just to have it have any use, you know.
Yeah. Beyond a River Devil you can just walk past. Because I think the River Devil's just placed on a random path somewhere that also touches the mountains, but like most of the time you can go around it either with the boots or just by walking around it with a... Like sometimes the sand encounter gets you past it, sometimes it's just completely useless. I've seen it just sitting in the corner of a path where you can just take like 4 steps and get around the River Devil.
Yeah, most often I find the River Devil guarding an empty cul-de-sac, and there's just no reason to go there anyway. Okay, so we're gonna see what this water tile is. If this is the kid, oh my god!
It is.
So oh my god! If this is Reflect, that's gonna be really good news for Nirm. Wow, there's like 4 or 5 Stalfos in this room. Like the randomizer rolled enemies and it got all Stalfos. You know, I've thought just from my own observations that when I go into a palace, I see, you know, if this palace has Doom Rattlers, it'll tend to have a bunch of Doom Rattlers or none.
Yeah.
And Dig Shake has assured me that it should just roll every enemy the same as it does, and it's not like certain seeds have just preferences for more blue iron knuckles overall or something.
I don't know, because I noticed that with a lot of enemies too. Like these eyeball guys, I rarely see one of them in a room.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually there's 2 or 3. Yeah, this encounter's had 3 of them in a MOA. That seems like exactly.
I think flying enemies are different. I think flying enemies are different, but like in a palace.
Yeah.
I think I was in particular complaining about blue iron knuckles, and he told me to just cool my jets, and I'm noticing that there's a lot of blue iron knuckles. So we have some intentional damage here from Jam, once again using the strategy of taking an intentional death to refill one's magic to be able to cast the fairy spell. This is why, even though you can explore palaces without the magic key and with the fairy spell, it's longer. It takes a longer time than if you have the key, because you do often have to take deaths to be able to go through doors. If we had a nice cheap fairy spell, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, I haven't seen his... No, Nirm doesn't have Magic 5 yet, so we don't know what it'll cost at next rank. I think we've seen like everything on the Overworld so far between the 2 players, so Magic Key's probably buried in one of the palaces.
Well, I mean, at the point that Nirm's out, I wonder if he'll even bother looking for anything else, because he doesn't yet have the... I haven't seen him pick up the medicine, so there's still one more item.
He's probably gonna look for Darunia right now and so that he knows if he needs to get anything else out of a palace.
Yeah.
But he's still missing a couple of spells. He hasn't found all the free spells because he's still behind on exploration over here.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, so at life 4, Nirm just took a blue Lizalfos hammer to the back, and it did 1 box of damage, and that's usually like 3 boxes of damage.
Jam plays the flute, doesn't do anything.
Okay, wasn't someone, maybe you, once trying to flute buffer an encounter skip?
I said that's what I was doing, but I was just playing it to meme.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a real thing.
The Valley of Death was nothing but sand, and it was weird, so I just walked through it playing the flute to be funny. Because I had never seen that. Like, it was a 1-tile long path, like the Valley of Death usually is, but it was all sand, not lava. I have no idea why.
The randomizer was just styling on you.
I was fine with it, because I don't like lava.
No one does. So we have Jam back over on Western Continent. I wonder if Jam's gotten to the point now where Death Mountain is seeming appealing. With the candle and the hammer, it's 2 items, and that does seem like a pretty good option at this point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, those are 2 things. We don't have boots, which would make it like supremely attractive. But those are the things that will kind of make Death Mountain a little bit nicer to explore. Like, you kind of don't want to go in there if you don't have the hammer, because you only have the chance to find 1 item. And then I think exploration of Death Mountain without the candle is kind of miserable. So with those 2 things, it seems a bit more tempting than further palace exploration, especially when you have to death abuse all over the place.
Yeah. We're 3 and 6 both pink.
Tracking the colors, I haven't been... Oh, I think they have.
Yeah, this is 3.
Yeah. No, because Barba's Palace wasn't pink, was it? No.
I don't know. Maybe Jam was just in this one, but I thought it had a different background.
Yeah. And this is more of a fuchsia, anyway.
Oh, okay. I gotta study my colors, I guess.
It's got like more red. But yeah, so this is the room that that Jam was prevented from going. Oh, and it's followed by another breakable block room.
Yep. So here's both of the rooms that can block you in here.
Oh wow, that's a really quick hammer cave.
Yeah.
That's
So Jam has his glove here in a minute.
And there should be no reason to go looking for the boulder in here. I wouldn't think.
And unless he thinks the kid's there, but he needs to go check in that medicine and see what it is, because I don't think he's done that yet. Because, like, as close as they are, neither one of them are full dig shake yet.
No,
So,
and
like
full,
spell and thunder on Nirm's side.
yeah, full dig shake is a community term for when a person has all of the items necessary to beat the game, which is really just reflect, fairy, thunder, and the glove.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we see a quick up A to get out of Death Mountain. So Jam, I wouldn't think is going to go looking for the other item in Death Mountain, just because finding a glove at 53 minutes in when you've done a whole bunch of exploration trying to find it elsewhere. Now, Jam is going to think that they're very behind. And
Sure, because he's 53 minutes in and he hasn't placed a single gem.
yeah, that can't be a good feeling.
Nirm's got 3 placed.
Yeah, Nirm's catching up real fast right now. And I mean, Nirm's undefeated so far in the tournament. So, you know, we should be expecting some pretty good play out of Nirm. But it was looking kind of bad for a while.
Actually, Nirm was 3-1 in the brackets. Not sure who he lost to. Or not.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought... My apologies. I thought Nirm was one of the undefeateds.
Yeah, he lost to Kulain by 20 seconds, it looks like.
Wow. Yeah, there was some really close races. I believe that there's a playlist on Angry Larry's YouTube page that has the matches from the tournament, and it's a great watch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really close ones, exciting, dramatic matches.
I think he's making separate playlists for each round of the tournament. And just as a reminder, Jam Evil and Nirm did face each other in the Swiss stage, and Nirm beat him. So this is a rematch, and also a best of 3. So this this match itself doesn't determine whether one of these guys are out completely. They'll have to do 2 more matches, or 1 if the same person who wins this wins the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Jam's knocking down some trees.
Well, Jam
I didn't
also...
actually know you could do that without stopping.
Oh, you can do it for free while walking?
Apparently,
I guess
he
the
just did it
task
twice.
does that.
Does it?
Yeah, the task walks around and breaks trees down.
Nice. Maybe there's like a 1-frame window when you're perfectly on the tile that you can do it.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna see what the kid is worth for ransom here in Darunia.
It looks like Jam picked up the spell from Medicine Town, actually, while I was looking at the tournament brackets. So he had the spell, so I think Nirm is about to get Reflect.
Awesome.
Which is really what Nirm needs at this point. I think that puts him in the lead.
Yeah, it really would. Because Nirm doesn't have Thunder, but I think Thunder is just a matter of finding it. Thunder was in New Kasuto, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be a place that, you don't need an item. Nirm's going to be looking for the free spells probably before looking for spell items. So that's looking pretty good now for Nirm.
So I guess even though he doesn't need any more items, he doesn't quite know it yet, but hopefully he'll look for the spells before the items.
Yeah, I mean, it can never be assumed that the players are remembering precisely everything that they've seen, or are, making decisions the same way that we'd make decisions. Oh, okay, well here's
Yeah.
here's the other spell. I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat in Zelda 2 Randomizer. So I mean, just because you know, we're doing something in our heads one way, or a player is doing something, you know, one way, there's many ways to proceed through the game.
I really feel like both players have been in this palace 3 times. I feel like I've seen a lot of pink in this seed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, total, we've seen it at least 3 times.
Yeah.
And we're here at the Great Stalfos party. In this just terrible, awful room. And, you know, we might have seen Jam use the Thunder spell to get out of that room if we had the magic key and didn't need to spend all of our magic on Fairy.
Yeah.
And that's another great thing about the magic key, is that you can use your magic on basically whatever the heck you want, which really makes, you know, difficult situations like that easier.
Yeah, fire is not linked to another spell on this flag set. I believe that was turned off starting in the previous round. So it's kind of a dead draw.
Yeah, it's a really cool feature that Digshake put into the randomizer to make the fire spell more useful, and also just to provide another way to get the required spells for the game and maybe speed up some races. If the fire spell is linked to one of the key items, or one of the key spells, it tends to be cheaper, and just you maybe don't have to find the kid or the trophy or the medicine of life.
Here's going into this palace. I believe Palace 5. Or 2, rather. Which
Well, this is a little bit more pink. This is not a fuchsia palace.
Ah, okay. Jam's gonna take out Rebanak to place his first gem. It's interesting that he made it to 4-4-4 without any gems placed.
Yeah, I mean, probably some P bags. I mean, also has been fighting a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Niram finds a dead end. There's rooms in these palaces that, if you play the randomizer enough, you just start to recognize as, oh, that's an end. Like being able, that's one of the things that'll speed up your seeds when you start playing this game, is just being able to recognize what rooms and caves you have no business being in. Oh, the drippers. So these drippers at the top of the screen, every once in a while will produce a blue drop, which is an item. In vanilla, it's a bot. In the randomizer, it can be any enemy. And so sometimes you can find an enemy that's worth a whole lot of experience that you can kind of farm. It's a little unpredictable because you don't know when the drippers will drip an enemy, but they have the same health as the bots would, so you can kill an Iron Knuckle in one hit, and if it's worth 300 points, then, you know, just good times.
You can see Niram is only taking right turns whenever he can help it. I think this palace only has one dead end in it, so yeah, this is Helmet Head. To the right, anyway.
Yeah, this palace has a bunch of dead ends to the left, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That one big block room.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. Oh, nice, humongous freaking swamp with all of these desert or lava encounters, which aren't so bad with the candle, but
I'm
those
not sure
were
what he was
definitely
looking for down there. Where was it Niram found the kid? Was it in a palace?
Niram found the kid on the water tile.
Ah, okay. So Jam needs to get the boots out of Palace 1 before he can find it.
Oh, I mean, but when is he gonna? Well, okay, so he has to go back to Palace 1.
Yeah.
Like, luckily the gem is... If he had placed the gem, then he'd probably never go back there. I mean, well, eventually, you know, he'd have to try to beat the game, but, I mean, it would be really low on the priorities. I mean, it's the quickest of the palace items, but... You know, and then sometimes you can really easily forget, like, which palaces did you go in and just kill the boss, which palaces did you go in and get the item. If you're using like a sophisticated tracker software, that can make those things easier, but that's one of the things I definitely forget. I mean, you see so many things in a you know, a couple hours of a randomizer that it's hard to remember all the details. That's what makes the good players really good, and we have to assume that anyone in the semifinals is a very strong player. And we actually don't have to assume. We know it. We know that these are strong players, and they must have very good mental tracking.
Now, quarterfinals, they were just letting anybody in the quarters.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing about it being on Palace 1 is I believe that was in Maze Island, and he would not want to go back to Maze Island, even if he had the boots, because that was a pretty nasty Maze Island.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a candidate for full clear, you know? Like, if you're there, why would you ever want to have any chance of having to go back there?
Yeah.
So maybe we're getting the item out of Palace 2?
Yeah, it's not too bad, especially with the glove. You're guaranteed to find it, and it's still a pretty small palace.
Dude, Palace 2 is pretty big.
I don't know, it's only got like 3 elevators in it.
Someone has a good breakdown of how many rooms are in each palace, and I think Palace 2 was one of the ones that we kind of discovered is bigger than we'd ever thought.
Yeah, it might have a lot of like in-between filler rooms like this one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like this. Jam was standing there for a moment, I guess, deciding whether or not to go for that key, or maybe trying to think of how to disintegrate the bridge in a way that would let him get the key and then still hop out of there.
So I don't like what just happened on Jam's side with the palace layout, because if you wanted to go through that room without jump, but you didn't have the glove, you would have been met with a glove block. That would have sucked. Because getting through that room without jump, that collapsible bridge room, is very difficult, and if that's where it's gonna put the glove block, you're gonna be really annoyed.
Oh, we have a magic key pickup here in Palace 5.
Oh. That's interesting that he came across the item room in 5. 5 is enormous. He definitely wasn't looking for it.
I mean, unless their palace or their colors are completely different. Because no, because the backgrounds are different. Okay. Because that could be a thing sometimes. Like, people be in the same palace and they don't look like the same palace at all because of their color settings. But, you know, Palace 5 is so big and windy that oftentimes you won't be looking for the item at all, and you'll just be kind of forced left and end up finding it by accident. It's still it's a huge palace. I think it's second only to the Great Palace. Which, maybe we should check. Do we have full GP, or is that only in the finals?
No, that's only finals.
Okay.
So I believe it's 25% to 50% of the rooms have been removed from Great Palace for this seed and flag set. But then in the finals, they'll have to deal with every room that the Great Palace has to offer.
I mean, I think that the shortened Great Palace is a nice thing to offer players, because in these races, people tend to go into Great Palace with, you know, kind of just the minimum magic containers, life containers, and, you know, and levels that they can get away with. You know, basically like enough to cast Thunder for sure, to be able to beat Thunderbird. But if you have every room available to you in the Great Palace, you know, you're probably gonna run out of supplies.
Is there a jar down here?
There's a jar in one of these rooms, and I tend to always dig in the one that doesn't have the jar.
Okay.
If King Doll was here, he would have just been shaking his head like, oh, what are you doing? Digging in the wrong block formation. King Doll is a Zelda 2 randomizer player who has done a very good job in memorizing where every jar location is.
But even if you do know, like, from the enemy layout of where everything, like, which one has the jar, if it's, like, a difference between the large and small enemies, you may not be able to figure it out with this flag set.
I think in that one, it's a difference of whether or not that statue shoots the bullets.
Ah.
All right, well, here is Gooma, Boss Gooma, as... this dude can hit like a truck, although at life 5 only doing 1 box of damage, so this is probably not going to be a hazardous fight.
Your life levels are really generous to him. You should be taking like 2.5 bars on from Gooma at life 5.
Yeah. Gooma is you know, probably considered the most dangerous boss to fight. Even very high-level players can die at Gooma. I think oftentimes it's because the high-level players are doing these, you know, fancy boutique strats that involve jackhammers and you know, damage boosting through Gooma and just making things a little bit more reckless than they need to be. But it's kind of always a hazardous fight.
Jam looks lost.
Jam, I think, is farming for jars to be able to cast Fairy to get through that door and pick up whatever item is here in Palace 2.
Maybe he's on his last life or something, then. I don't know.
Yeah, that must be. So, oh, and you got a P-bag drop. So every 6th enemy, which actually this is randomized in the randomizer, the counter. So in the original game, it was every 6th small enemy would drop 1/8 of the time would drop a 50-point P-bag, and the rest of the time would drop a blue jar, which refills 16 magic points. And then every 6th large enemy would have a 50-50 chance of dropping a full jar or a 200-point P-bag.
He's just taking a shower here.
Yeah.
Should have death warped off the red knuckle, I guess. Is Fairy really so cheap that he could cast it with 1? Well, yeah, it's 26 now.
Okay.
It got cut in half at Magic 5.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if he would try... Oh my god, Jam is gonna break his controller in half. All that work and it was an item he couldn't even pick up.
Yeah. I believe Jam Evil just got dig shook.
Absolutely. So, do we know that statue... That statue in the item room, that Iron Knuckle statue, does that one produce a jar? Because, you know, he might have been able to get enough for jump and then be able to jump up there, slash that guy, and get a jar.
Yeah, maybe.
One of those statues, I mean, maybe one or more, but some of them do. Okay, so this is a dead-end room, but probably going to make the trek down here either for the jar at the end or a key. Okay, there wasn't a jar, there's just a key. It's still worth it.
Nirm grabbed a P-bag, that's interesting. Must be trying to get at least 2 levels out of this palace before Great Palace.
Yeah, looking at his levels, I would like a couple more going into Great Palace. But then again, like I play this game pretty safe. You know, I'm cut out for Swiss flags.
Yeah, I had to do a race the other day where I had, I think, attack 5 going into Great Palace because I messed up my levels pretty bad and didn't go too well, but I think it worked out. I don't remember if I game overed it or in it or not. I think it was a short palace.
You know, Great Palace, the enemies are so difficult to beat that even with high attack, like most people don't actually choose to fight the bird knights or the spicy chickens, and if there's any option to just avoid them. So I think that like the Thunderbird fight is definitely a reason to have a high attack level, but you know, the main reason why I level up attack levels is to they're the most expensive, and if I can have the option to buy attack 7 or attack 8, but then spend that huge amount of XP on a bunch of life and magic levels, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like finding the magic key right away, because then I can make a solid decision to just rank up my attack level and not worry about magic or life as much. Can leave them low and then get really high attack off of the gems.
But yeah, after a while, if you don't have any way to get through doors and you're killing yourself over and over again, you're gonna take Magic 4, which basically commits you to taking levels as they come.
Yeah.
And then it never works out anyway.
Nirm is already prepared for Great Palace, but Jam's decision to not go into Death Mountain is really biting him here. He probably cannot come back from this. He's down 5 gems, though 4 in a second. It looks like he just found Helmet Head.
That's a tall order.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that it's kind of going to be a Nirm full explores Great Palace, and Jam somehow finds a drop that takes him directly to Thunderbird or Dark.
Like Eon drop in the first room, and then Jam takes it, but Nirm doesn't.
Yeah. We never want to call anything a done deal, and you can't because, it's a randomizer and you don't know what's going to happen next. But Nirm is about to head to Great Palace, which is on the west continent in an easy to access place.
Yep.
And Jam's got 5 gems to place. 4, I'm sorry.
And I think they both have upstab, so we can't even speculate that upstab might be blocking Great Palace.
Yeah, that'd be something interesting if Nirm got very deep and found himself needing upstab and then had to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely Nirm's race to lose right now. Oh, I mean, this will mess anybody up. Getting stuck between a bird and a spicy chicken, but
that's a lovely greeting.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see right at the bottom of the first elevator.
Well, they put gargoyles at entrances of castles and stuff to scare the hell out of people and make them not want to come in. That's the most gargoyle-y enemy pattern you can really have.
Yeah.
Breaking lots of blocks. That's my style. I break all the blocks I can.
Yeah. Oh. Got King Bot in the middle of the waffle.
Wow, we might lose a life on the first room.
Yeah, this is not a lovely room.
That room sucks. Yeah, does he have jump? Yeah, next time I think he'll probably jump over that bot.
Let's see.
So, Great Palace, there's a lot of drops in this palace. That's one of the big things. And the drops, you don't really know where they're going to take you. Thunderbird is required, so a drop before Thunderbird can't take you past Thunderbird. It can only take you deeper into the palace or back to the door somehow, or to have access to the exit. I guess the entrance. But it can, it can make a. Oh, is he gonna take the Eon drop? Nah.
Nah, I don't take it when I'm going to the right. If I'm going to the left, I will.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'll at least peek and, because almost every seed in this tournament has at a dead end right to the right of the drop, but not this one.
I was expecting a dead end, honestly.
What would be funny, I guess it's not going to happen now, but I would say if the Eon drop landed you in this room, because this is a room that you can land in from the drops.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 drops in here. So...
But generally, it's going to be an explore to the right. We got to find Thunderbird. And then once you've found Thunderbird, you know that Dark Link is further down that path that you've been taking.
Yeah. But it's worth noting that since he's found a drop room, like that, a room you can land in, that there's going to be another drop somewhere in this palace that will take him backwards.
Yeah.
You used Thunderbird already, so that doesn't really tell us too much about, narrowing down where Dark Link is.
No, when you find Thunderbird early in exploration of Great Palace, it kind of leaves basically the whole palace wide open to exploration.
Yeah. But you also don't have to worry about saving your magic as much anymore.
That's very true. Because the Thunder spell is an expensive spell to cast. It rarely gets very affordable in the Randomizer unless it's linked with the Fire spell. And so you have to cast that first, and then you're going to want to cast either Shield or Reflect, or both if you have the magic for it to make this fight easier. Some people like Jump. I haven't seen too many Jump strats in this tournament.
Yeah.
But the Reflect spell will allow your shield to block these fireballs that are falling out of Thunderbird, and it will also shrink Link's hitbox slightly. I don't know the details on that, but I've been told that it does. And then the shield spell, of course, halves the damage that Link takes. So really, with that full complement of spells, a fairly easy fight. Oh, that was... Niram found the jar that would have given him the ability to cast life and save that life, but right as it appeared, got sniped from below by one of these unicorn heads.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should mention this. Like, people who have played Zelda 2 Vanilla might not recognize that these bullets in the Great Palace. It was something found in the code that Digshake found looking around in there, that this palace had the option for bullets to just be generated in some of the rooms of the palace, and decided to put them in. And then if the room decides to put vertical and horizontal bullets in there, it'll make diagonal bullets, which are just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So a lot of crazy stuff can happen in here. He's also he found these one hit point orange bird knights that don't actually appear in the vanilla version of Zelda 2 Randomizer, of Zelda 2, but they're in the Randomizer. These guys right here that Niram's fighting. So if you didn't have enough bird knights in vanilla, we've got the game for you. So this is Palace 5, which actually has the magic key that Jam's going into, right?
Wrong this whole time about which palace this was. Jam did finish Palace 1 though, and he got the boots. So he could get the Thunder spell, but he didn't go to the water tile. So he may end up digging out the item out of here, which wouldn't be too bad. Oh, okay, I guess
right
this
here.
is why Niram found it. It's
Yeah.
right in the front door.
Oh wow, and we have Dark Link spotted on Niram's side.
Yep.
Well, for a Death Mountain required hard flag seed, $1.19 is pretty good.
Yeah.
The same as in the vanilla game, you kind of just park yourself on the left side of the screen and slash a lot to defeat Dark Link. It'd be interesting if Randomizer Dark Link had some advanced strats that you had to use.
That could be annoying if he just coded in something to prevent that cheese from working.
Yeah, or fireballs or something, or give him Rebenak's horse.
That'd be awesome.
Dark Link rides in on Dark Rebenak's horse. Well, congratulations, Niram. Well done. That's a heck of a time for kind of a pain in the butt seed. I mean, not it's definitely not the worst that we've seen, but it did require quite a bit of exploration. It required the kid, which was boots required, and it needed Death Mountain. So
yeah,
it wasn't free. It wasn't free by any means.
And it really just came down to, like, they both had trouble finding a certain item. Niram couldn't find the raft, but he found the glove looking for it, and Jam had trouble finding the glove, and it was just down to which one of them took longer to find the item.
Man, I'm surprised that, like, for as long as Niram spent on the West Continent, like, really not finding that raft for a long time. Like, the first half hour, he didn't find the raft. I thought that would have set him back quite a bit more, but it just it shows how experienced and talented at this game Niram is.
He just made a comment in the IRC that he got lucky going into DM early because he couldn't find wide open raft.
Yeah. Okay, well, he recognizes how that factored into it.
Yeah. I was thinking he probably thought this race was closer than it is because he didn't up A right after Thunderbird, even though Thunderbird was only like 3 or 4 rooms in, and he lost like all of his health and magic fighting it.
Yeah, that's something. If I was down 2 lives, I probably would have done that.
Yeah. Though if I was in semifinals, I think no matter what, I would probably press on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't afford to spend any time that you don't have to spend. I don't know if we're going to get Nirm in for conversation at the end of this, and that race was over so quick, and the next race isn't scheduled, that I think we can afford to let Jam finish this one out.
Yeah, the next one's scheduled for 9.
Okay.
And that'll be Dig Shake versus Unos. Then they're going to do 2 matches back-to-back of their best of 3.
That's the most powerhouse match I think you could have. I believe 1 and 2 on the SRL rankings for Zelda 2 Randomizer, or at least they were like last time I checked, which was a while ago.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
But just really, really strong quality players that have faced each other a whole lot, and it's exactly what you want out of a semifinals match. And this one too, I mean, it got a little lopsided because of an item holding things up. I think sometimes players that are of equal skill, when they have a race that has required items, it can tend to make it seem imbalanced when they're actually very well matched players. It's the free seeds where you see them just kind of going ham and finishing very close to each other.
Yeah. I believe that Nirm has hopped into the channel with us.
Oh, congratulations, Nirm.
Thank you.
So, how did you feel at the beginning of that beginning of that seed when you weren't able to find the raft?
It was a little disconcerting. I checked essentially everywhere but that one little cave.
Yeah.
And, it ended up working in my favor because Glove was in Death Mountain, and then I was completely out of the way compared to where Raft was, so I figured at that point I probably had an advantage because I really doubted Jam would dive all the way into Death Mountain when the East was so readily available.
It sounds like your mic's a little staticky. I don't know if you can fix that, or they're making the Mr. Destructoid faces in chat.
Yeah, you do sound a little bit robotic, Nirm. I was probably going to be checking on that for a moment. Looks like we have Jam doing an intentional death to be able to get through this fairy room. There is the option to do the eco key. I think it's harder, of course, if there's a bunch of these fire spitting Moas in the randomizer, but we have seen it done.
Usually you do it off a bubble. It looked like he jumped at it a couple of times, but I'm sure he hasn't practiced doing this with a Moa. That'd be silly.
No. Well, who does that? No one does that.
No.
How about now, guys?
It's about the same, I think.
Yeah. It's okay. Hey, we love you any way
fine.
we can get you. Just anything else that stuck out to you as you were playing this? Okay, so he's gonna reboot Discord.
All right.
I'd be interested to know if Nirm is someone who keeps track of. Pretty much everyone keeps track of what caves there's been, because there should have been a cave outstanding in his mind, and looking for palaces before looking for a missing cave. I mean, maybe he thought the cave was boot blocked, because he also didn't get Mito for a long time either. So I'm guessing that's. I'm trying to remember back to the beginning of the race.
That sounded worse, actually. I heard a very faint, how about now?
Well, Guma down. Guma is really just a chump in this seed. With the strong life levels, I mean, nothing's really doing any damage in this in this seed, in particular Guma, which can be a stumbling block, especially if you find Guma early, which is not the case here. But in some of these races, Palace 5 will be on the west continent, and you'll be missing an item and tempted to go in there, and then you find Guma early, and then you try to do attack 3 Guma, like attack 3, life 3 Guma, and just get wrecked a whole bunch of times. But really just non-threatening in this seed.
Larry says that he is available if we would like to interview him instead of Nirm, and that he does a good Nirm impression.
I'd love to hear it.
How about now?
That's better.
Perfect.
Okay, so it's my microphone. Interesting.
So yeah, what other walk us through? What other things were fun or interesting or stuck out to you?
So going into 6 super early, that's definitely the lowest I've ever fought Barba. And then he was right there. And about 750 hits into Barba, I was like, maybe this wasn't the best idea.
Yeah, someone in chat timed that at over 3 minutes for that fight.
It does not surprise me at all.
What's funny though is that like 3 minutes in when you think about, an hour 19-minute seed, like it's not all that much.
Yeah.
Especially considering that a palace would ordinarily take, 10 minutes to do anyway. But I bet it felt like an eternity while you were doing it. And it seemed like it took longer, but like I was really surprised to get that number.
It's funny because I walked in there thinking, oh, I'll just jackhammer him, no problem. And I realized, oh man, I don't have downstab.
Yeah.
I mean, that might even have helped you out because since your health was so, like life levels were so low, like I thought that like jackhammering might have been the more dangerous thing to do, and then just doing the steady strats that you were doing, might actually be the best low level strat after all. But I'm sure you're much better at jackhammering than I am.
Probably not. I've only ever done it like 2 or 3 times, so I was gonna give it the old college try and then probably leave. But then, I had already invested so much time into trying to kill him the normal way. I was just like, I better not die here.
Yeah, when you took damage towards the end, when there was only like 2 bars of life left on, I'm like, oh man, if he dies now, he's probably up-Aing and coming back later. Like, would you have done that? You wouldn't have tried it again, right?
No, I definitely would not have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting seed. I normally don't dive into palaces early like I did, but thinking that at the time I couldn't find both Mito and the final cave, which was Medicine Cave, and I figured, okay, well there must be either boot blocked, because there's that little area in the southwest that was blocked off, and I hadn't really investigated how deep that was. So I figured, okay, Mito and that cave are over there somewhere, so it must be in a palace. And so I ended up digging in palaces a little earlier than I probably would have liked, and then it just so happened to be right there on the bottom.
Yeah, like different occasions, you were like 1 tile away from seeing that boulder, like from both sides of it. Because when you got the hammer, you up-A'd, but Jam walked out of the cave and found it. And then later you found the raft tile, the cave that was by that, and you just left after that. But if you'd have gone 2 steps to the left, you'd have found it there too.
Funny how it works.
Yeah. And because of that, we were wondering how long it'd take you to find it, because we knew that you'd been in that area twice and that you'd probably be sure it wasn't down there, but that's where it was.
That's some jackhammering. There we go.
Yeah, that was a little faster than Nirm's fight.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really fun to see. I was glad that you were doing that. But it was surprising. Like it seemed like the advantage that you'd gotten from the early glove had gotten pretty much eaten up by finding the cave late. Because like Jam was on the east almost immediately. Yeah. But then Jam kind of explored a ton of the east, but didn't get anything for it. Like didn't get any palaces or really any items. And only a couple level. No, actually, no. He was like 2-2-2 after all that exploration. It was surprising that
because he went over there without downstab, so he couldn't fight too much, really. Like it was still kind of dangerous, but he'd still spent a lot of time over there. He'd like fully explored it before Nirm even got over there. But he just couldn't find the glove.
Yeah, it's really too bad.
Yeah, I had the advantage of not having to look for too many items once I was over there. Like, I knew I still needed both Reflect and Thunder. I wasn't sure. I figured both were probably blocked by something or other. But
Yeah.
fortunately, the kid was right there on the water tile, so that wasn't too bad. And that's all that was required in the end. So I was able to save a lot of time just by not having to look for things. But-
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
But I-
that first exploration from Jam, like just being so unfruitful, and was basically Jam's chance to really launch ahead in the game, because you were still wandering around looking for the raft. But I mean, even after that, like you'd placed one gem and was actually looking kind of better after all that.
Let's see, did Jam not place the gem in Palace 1? I'll check his gem count next time he pauses, but this might be his last gem.
Yeah, he hasn't. I mean,
Because he went back in there for the boots, and then he cleared Palace 5 after that, so I would think that he killed Horsehead, but I know I didn't see it happen.
he'd have to have. Like, if he got the boots out of there, like, then why would you not
Yeah.
just kill the boss?
And making 3 trips into Palace 1 just sounds like a mistake.
Yeah, we saw 3 trips into Palace.
6,
What?
I think? Whichever one was pink. 3 is what it was.
Yeah.
Or fuchsia.
Yeah. I think it was Palace 1 that was pink.
Palace 2 is very pink.
Oh, that must have been what it was. There's a lot of palaces to look at in this game.
Pink seems to be a very popular color in this rando.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real bummer that this seed, like, we didn't get the magic key for a long time. Like, both you and Jam have been spending a lot of time taking deaths or farming for jars to
Yeah.
try to get through these palaces.
And one thing I was worried about is in 5, it was literally go into 5, take a left, and boom, magic key. So I could have had it, 15 minutes, or I guess it took me longer than 15 minutes, but Jam could have had it, 15 minutes in had he just hopped into 5 into a quick left. So it's just one of those things where, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, he's been here, he was here an hour ago, and he's got the key, and he's running all over the place.
Yeah, 5's not one you want to go into if you don't have to, if you don't have fairy or the magic key, but like if you're in the race, then you're gonna at least wonder, did the opponent do this or not?
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where you can really psych yourself out if you think about it too much. And it's happened to me in races before where I think about, oh no, I'm behind, I need to do X and Y to catch up, and then I actually really didn't need to do that, and it ended up costing me the race. So.
Yeah.
I mean, and we know from semifinalist Dig Shake that sometimes, you'll even play those strats that you think that your opponent's going to play. Like, oh, I'm playing someone who is likely to go into Death Mountain, so I'm going to go into Death Mountain to make sure that they don't get an edge on me. So you can really outthink yourself sometimes.
Well, alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and head out. We still have another match between Jam and I, because these are best of 3.
Yep.
And then
So Jam got the first one?
no,
No.
this is the first one.
Oh, this is the first one. Okay. So we're gonna get at least one more. Great.
Yeah. I'm not too
Well,
sure
is that
when
one
that's gonna
scheduled
happen. No, we haven't scheduled that one yet.
And then let's see, Yunos and Dig Shake are gonna do a double header tonight.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna try to button up this finals of the semifinals of the Zelda 2 randomizer tournament.
Yeah, so Dig Shake and Yunos could be decided tonight if it's a 2-0 victory for one of them, but otherwise they'll have to schedule their third match for another day.
It's
Are we having an honest fight here from Jam?
Kinda looks like it.
Alright, guys, have a good one.
All right, you
All
too.
right.
Take care. Yeah, so the very unusual strategy of seeing someone not just post up in the right corner, reflecting back the bullets from Karok, and actually like venturing out in and trying to get some early reflects. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all of the gems now. So we definitely did get Palace 1 figured out.
So his final levels are 5, 7, 7.
that should be okay. I mean, the 7/7's what's important for Great Palace in my mind, and really the attack levels aren't gonna play into Great Palace really at all, except for Thunderbird. And with, I mean, oh my God, every Magic container in Magic 7, he'll definitely have Shield and Reflect on deck. So it'll take longer than Nirm's fight did, but it's not going to be a problem. So yeah, just a quick trip from the North Castle where Zelda, according to the lore, just one of the many Zeldas in Hyrule royalty history.
It's a popular baby name in this country.
Well, so one of the explanations for why there's so many Links is that it was just a popular name to name your child after a legendary hero, and maybe in hopes that they would become a legendary hero.
The other explanation is in Skyward Sword, and I don't really want to talk about Skyward Sword.
You know, about a month into Skyward Sword being a game, some friends borrowed it from me, and I've never actually retrieved it.
Oh. You probably didn't get to the half of the game that's actually okay.
Probably not. So we saw the King Bot there when he got blown up into a bunch of mini bots. Actually despawned the blue Bird Knight.
Yeah, I didn't notice the Bird Knight the first time Nirm was in there.
Yeah, I wonder what. I mean, I don't really know what the limits of the game are, but I know that if you blow up a bot in the room where you can get a jar. It's a room with breakable blocks and a jar. You end up despawning the jar because the bot. And it works for enemies as well. So we're going to see the very common thing of not taking the Eon Drop when you should take the Eon Drop and finding a dead end.
Yeah.
We all know that you should just fall right down that pit in the middle of the lava there and continue your exploration.
It's not too much of a dead end though, just 2 screens.
I know, but it's you gotta respect the memes, Countess.
Okay. I think if we're respecting the memes though, we should expect them to drop, because the right to the Eon room has been a dead end like 80% of the time in this tournament. Wow, it was actually a jar.
There we go.
I feel like that block is like a 90% chance to be a Bird Knight.
Yeah, every one of those rooms I go looking for a jar, no matter what. I know that only one of like 3 of them actually has a jar. But I always go looking.
There's only 2 of them.
There's only 2 of them? Okay.
And it's like one of them has an enemy and one of them doesn't on the right side, and that tells you whether it's a jar. I don't remember at this time which one it is though.
Oh, okay. Wait, did Jam cast Reflect 3 times? It looked like he was casting the same spell a bunch of times, as if they would stack triple Reflect.
I usually do that against Dark Link. I'll just select his shield and then just spend all my magic on it. Because usually at this point, shield costs like 8 magic, so why not?
That was a pretty doggone quick fight. So there's several different ways to fight Thunderbird. One is what Nirm did, which is to set up a pendulum-like motion so that Thunderbird tracks you across the screen and swoops down low at the dais, where you can get 2 and sometimes more hits in. But Jam elected to stand in the middle and use jump to just have constant access to Thunderbird's face. Which I think, a lot of people don't use that strat because, it is, a bit more dangerous because you have to dance within this bullet rain. But, it is ultimately faster. So it's, I guess there's just maybe like a point where you get comfortable enough to do like the riskier strat, but to have a great reward for it.
I usually don't cast jump against him, but it's just because I end up jumping right in front of where he's spitting the fire out, because his hitbox is right under the fire shooting part. So if you jump too high, you'll get hit by it and can't avoid it.
For me, it's just I've spent the whole game, doing sword combat with Link's regular jump height, and it's just too confusing for me to get new timing.
Looks like Jam's following the same exploration as Nirm, so Darklink shouldn't be too far away.
Yeah, this was a pretty short Great Palace, and here we go.
Okay, there's no enemy in that room, so I guess it's the room that does have an enemy has the jar.
You know, 140s, that's still, it's true that there's a pretty significant difference between the times of our finishers, but
yeah,
I don't think 140 is a bad time at all. Especially in a seed that did require you to hunt for some items.
And like I said, we saw this in the play-in race where a lot of people just heavily invested in not going into Death Mountain, and then it cost them like about this much time, really, because you explore every single other place, including palaces.
Yeah, and when palace exploration, it's also slowed down by an expensive fairy spell and deaths. Like that's just, like let's say you did dig through all the palaces before going to Death Mountain, but you had the magic key. That's not going to cost you nearly as much time.
I tried to have an honest Darklink fight, but see if he tries it again now that he's got more magic.
I don't know how kids beat this game before they learned how to crouch in the corner. I mean, Darklink's really good. Oh no, we're still going for it. Look at Jam putting on a show. I haven't had chat up this whole time. How is chat doing? I hope everyone's enjoying Zelda 2 Randomizer. I hope they're enjoying this sick Darklink fight. Not taking much damage. Like, this is doable. This is making me think that, like, this was possible. Oh, good. We have fire. Fire's gonna help.
Got him.
Oh, yes.
Uh-oh.
And then the fairy cast.
Oh.
God bless him. Look at that. I like casting fairy, actually, after the fight. I think it's stylish. The true hero of Hyrule is the fairy.
I thought that unlocked the game when you cast fairy.
It can. I've never soft locked the game. I know that it's something that you can do, and anytime I would ever cast fairy, like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? You could totally soft lock. And like,
Does it depend on your positioning or something?
I think it's the timing.
Ah. I know the last time I heard it discussed in Discord, that was determined that nobody really cares if you soft lock there versus actually finishing and seeing the credits.
That's good. All right, so 1:44:19 is the timer time of Jam Evil, going down 1 point in this best of 3 match with Nirm. So they're going to be having at least one more match. Jam is typing something into the Discord chat. We'll see what that is. Holy crap, Nirm, great job. And yeah, we'll echo that. I am really shocked by Nirm's time, given that he had trouble finding the raft. Like, to do a 119 on that seed with that setback is tremendous. So great job, Jam, and thanks for finishing out the match, because that when you're only have that many gems placed and you see your opponent finish, it can be a little disheartening. And I'm glad you stuck it out to see the end of that match. Hey, Jam.
Is this the 5 o'clock free bee giveaway?
Yeah. You're caller 19 on
All right.
Randomizer Radio.
That's what I'm talking about. What a seed! Wow, I had no chance there with Nirm. making that early play to Death Mountain, he said, and definitely paid off for him in strides. It
Yeah, let's
definitely,
call that a
Yeah.
play. Let's call that a play.
you know what?
No.
Well, it's the play that he thought he needed to do because he didn't get the raft, and I totally understand that. And wow, he definitely got super lucky. But I think even if he would have, gotten that later, he still would have had a better time. I had some really bad routing through some of the levels, full cleared some of them,
Mhm.
even farmed for magic containers trying to get fairy for to bypass some key doors.
Oh, Fairy was a killer.
Yeah, not getting that magic key early, which I probably could have if I would have just explored. What is it, Palace 5?
Yep.
Had that early magic key, and if I would have explored, that would have saved me at least 15 minutes right there of of grinding for keys and picking up keys and exploring rooms that I didn't have to just for the chance of a key. But man, I was really convinced that the second item on Death Mountain was the magic key until I ran into that. just a bad play on my part. I think I played extremely well and still put up a decent time. Just not enough if I want to win this thing. I'm going to come back next round, or not next round, but next match, strong, and I'm not going to hold back. So we'll see what happens.
Wow, well said. Yeah, I really appreciate the positive attitude. Still feeling good about what you did well, and just the will to take it in the next match and go 2 straight against Niram. A tough competitor. You really can't sleep on. We can't sleep on anyone in the semifinals, but I think that you've definitely got the talent, and just it's one of the fun things about the randomizer where one left turn here, one right turn there can really make the difference of picking up an item that's crucial to expediting the rest of the exploration and progress through the game. So it's good to not take a loss hard, especially when things are easy come, easy go.
Yep, an easy dig and easy shake. Speaking of which, I think you guys have a really awesome match coming up. The other half of this is Dig, Shake, and Unos coming up. I'm looking forward to watching that. I'm going to be hanging out in chat for that one. But like I said, if I would have just played a little tighter, played a little more, a little less conservative, a little more risky, and dug some dungeons early, I would have definitely performed better. But hey, there's always next round and there's always next tournament, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for the awesome restream and commentary, and I will see you guys later.
All righty, well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Wow. Check out that positivity, guys. That was fabulous. Jam Evil just, really taking that loss with absolute grace, and really showing great sportsmanship here in the Zelda 2 Randomizer tournament. And we have Unos and Digshake coming up. That's going to be a fabulous match. I think that a different commentary crew is going to be coming in to call that match, which I'm excited that I get to just grab a snack and watch this. I mean, there's a whole night of Zelda 2 Randomizer coming, so don't change the channel. This is gonna be a hot one.
Yeah, it looks like they're already setting up for that. I see
Oh.
Enos is already live in their layout.
Good lord. All right, well, everyone. I am Joshy D, and with me here has been the Countess. And we've been very grateful to be here on Speed Gaming. Thank you very much, Feasel, for running the stream and the tracker, Digshake for running the tournament, and everyone in the Zelda 2 Randomizer community. I had so much fun being in this tournament, and it's been a great pleasure just to be able to work with so many great players and so many wonderful people. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and stick around for the rest of the matches.